Okay, I'm Ted Castle, Rhino Foods. That's our cookie dough waterfall. That's the top of the food pyramid. Everybody should eat cookie dough ice cream 2 or 3 times a day. So Rhino is a privately held business in Burlington. We're a certified B Corp and been a member of VBSR for a long time. So I just would like to put some context in that. We have 140 employees, really a manufacturing company. So whatever I say, I'd like you to at least understand is coming from that background. At the same time, I would stretch your thinking a little bit to not make it have to think about, well, we don't have manufacturing people, we're like a law firm. I'd like you to try to think about how this applies to you. I've tried to do that. So that's what I'm supposed to talk about. Everybody got it? So we really have been working on bringing people's best selves to work, I think, for 20 years. About the last 3 years, we've put a little more intentional activity and thinking to this. So today is not about trying to teach you or convince you of anything. It's to try to sort of broaden your thinking. So this is all about me sort of throwing some stuff at you, even throwing some stuff at myself. So, okay, so this is you trying to sort of engage in this and open the door for your own thinking. So again, this is Rhino's employee principle. You don't need to read it. But the most important things I think I'd like to highlight are the word relationships, families, and personal. So if we think about trying to have people bring their best selves to work, we are talking a lot about relationships with our employees. And we don't say just the employees, we say their families. That's intentional. And this word personal is, you'll hear more about that later. So here we go. Here's what we all try to do. We try to grab our employees, they come to work, and we try to make our workplace just incredible. So we do all kinds of things to make ourselves great. So you could be doing some of these things like Rhino. Doesn't really matter. These are all things that we do. And the more you do, the better place you have. You know, you've got a culture that is engaging, attracting people that work for you. And you'd probably be known as like a VBSR superstar if you're really good at this stuff. And it could be much bigger. But this whole work is really about when the employee comes to you and you're trying to maximize that human potential and your human capital, right? This is what we do. This is what most people do. And so what we're trying to think about today is, what about these people that come? Where do they come from? And I'd like to talk about that imaginary line that people put between work and home, and why is that there? And why do we think of that? And what about if a business erased that imaginary line and really started to think about having their employees come in the best shape they possibly could be? And then they work for 8 hours and then they go home in as good or better shape than when they started. So imagine that place, and imagine yourself right now. So do you always come to work like all fired up? Had a little argument with somebody at home, your wife, your husband, your friend, you're thinking about that, the stress. And then, or at work, you've got a pain in the ass supervisor that's asking for all kinds of ridiculous things. You're probably not going home in great shape. So that's what we're going to explore a little bit today. You with me? Yes. You with me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Lori. This is Lori. She helped me with this. So we're trying to get better at this stuff. So we had a wellness program like 10 years ago. We got pedometers, and we were doing flu clinics and all kinds of things. And we were really working on the body side of this. And what we've been trying to think about the last 2 years is, if this is the whole person here, a well-being wheel, what can we do at Rhino to impact every one of these things? So if you look at that and you scan that and you think about yourself bringing your best self to work, you know, how are you doing there? How's that working for you? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? So think about not at work, think about outside of work. And when these things are working really well, then all of a sudden you are thriving and bringing your best selves to work. When they aren't, you've got a problem. So a business can either ignore that and say, hey, that's somebody else's problem, or they can say, our employees are our most important asset, and they can try to dig into this a little bit. So why don't we do this? You know, why don't you spend more time thinking about helping your people have great lives outside of work? So my reasons are, it's personal, it's complex. That wheel's like, I don't even know about some of those things. I don't even know how to deal with that. Maybe your workplace doesn't allow people to talk about stuff like this. Maybe they sort of do, but not the important things. So these are all the things that maybe help you outside of work. I'm in trouble with time. I got 4 minutes? You've got to be kidding me. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video because this is going to talk much better than I can. This is a video of a guy at Rhino that works that we do an income advance program with.
I see the warehouses 1 year. I see the whole picture of what needs to be done in order to get through a day, a week, a month, even a year.
And you want to know something? Go with them.
If I'm assigning the right people to the right task at the right time, everything works perfectly.
He gave me the name Freezing Jesus. If he couldn't go in there freezing at all during the day, he'd be miserable. He'll find something to go in there.
I'm proud of the nickname Freezer Geezer. It's minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a constant temperature, whether it's 90 degrees outside or 20 degrees outside. With the hustle and bustle and the stress and the phone calls and it's an escape. Literally chills me. Back in 1995, which is about the same year I started working for Rhino, I had made a mistake on my income tax with the IRS. I wasn't in any position at that point to pay that back instantly. It ruined my credit, could not get a loan, even for a stick of bubble gum. I joined the income advance program pretty much at its inception. The only requirement is a good standing, your guarantee. So I borrowed $1,000. It was an emergency I had to have. It comes right out of your paycheck every week. So think about it. After a while, you're going to miss it. And once I was paid, I re-upped and got another $1,000. And I did this about 5 times. I didn't know the impact that that would have. So I actually went to get a loan for a car. They approved my loan. I was, to be honest with you, I was shocked. Apparently my credit score had risen due to the income advance program. The very first new car that I ever purchased in my mid-50s, you know? The point that we're about to discuss, which was a little over a year ago. I had a good idea what my credit rating was. I was a little more hip about credit in general. So I had a good idea that we were going to get the mortgage. My feeling is that my wife had passed, my daughter and my son-in-law couldn't afford a mortgage on their own. It was a perfect marriage. I get to live with my daughter and my granddaughters, and I've got this beautiful place. I gotta think that it's critical for a lot of people. You got an emergency, you don't know where to turn, this is where you should go. This is human nature, I think. It works.
So that's a program we started 7 years ago. There's been $350,000 have been borrowed by 200 different employees. So does that help our business? You bet. Retain people that would have a life emergency, have $500 bill, throw them out of work. Well, what about outside of work? Paul, you know, how do you think he's coming to work right now compared to freaking out about his bills? Okay, so again, what we're really trying to do here is encourage you to not think about inside and outside. Isn't that cool? Caitlin made me help me do that. So really running out of time here, I would really encourage you to think about how your supervise. If they're going to work on a development plan for somebody, why couldn't they be working on something outside of work? So we have somebody that wants to get better at approachability, and they want to help with that, and they say, I'm having trouble with my 13-year-old son or daughter, well, let's work on that. If you're better at approachability at home, you're certainly going to be better at it at work. You're certainly going to be more engaged with getting better at home than at work. So I just encourage you to think about not creating that line and doing your best you can to blur the two, because that's the best way to get the most out of your people. So thank you.